The majority of the cases that I have discussed so far are Canadian. I guess in part I do that because I am Canadian, and I believe unsolved murders and missing Canadians do not get enough attention. And I can relate to most of them, actually quite a few of them. The story of the unsolved murder of Jason McCullough of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia is one that I can definitely relate to. Not only was he from the east coast of Canada, like myself, I guess I can put myself in his shoes. I'm sure actually that most of us can. As a 19-year-old, I remember hanging out with my friends at parties and walking home alone afterward. I never felt afraid walking my old stomping grounds, never suspecting that a random act of violence could strike me in my own hometown, in my own backyard, so to speak. I couldn't tell you how many times I walked home alone after hanging out with my friends. One of my old treks took me down an old railroad track that was pitch black with woods on either side. Looking back now though, you wouldn't catch me alone in the dark on those tracks, but back then, those were some of our favorite hangout spots. I'm sure 19-year-old Jason McCullough probably felt the same way when he took a shortcut through a neighborhood playground to get home that fateful night. But that night, someone had murderous intentions, and for reasons still unknown, the quiet, shy, lovable hometown boy was shot in almost point-blank range in the back of the head, killing him instantly. As far as we can tell, Jason McCullough was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and his death was a senseless, random act of violence. That sent shivers up my spine. Many people are believed to have seen what happened to Jason that hot, humid August night, but not one single person has ever come forward in nearly 23 years. Jason's family was left without answers or justice. Their son was simply taken away from them, and nobody but them and Jason has paid the price. Jason Allen McCullough was born on July 9, 1980, to parents Alan and Carolyn McCullough. He had one brother, and the family lived in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Now, Dartmouth is located in the Halifax region of Nova Scotia, and for anybody out there who knows of the TV show The Trailer Park Boys, this show is filmed in Dartmouth. Jason was known as a quiet, well-liked young man. His cousin Vanessa Clark told CanadaUnsolved.com that, quote, he was the sweetest guy you could have met. He would give you the shirt off his back, he was a down-to-earth person, and super friendly, always. Jason was known to help his elderly neighbors with things like groceries, yard work, and shoveling the snow in the winter. And besides being a chief scout for Scouts Canada, he volunteered as a leader with the Boys and Girls Club at Dartmouth North. His friends and co-workers called him Piglet, though his family called him Jace. Nonetheless, the nickname Piglet stuck. Jason had graduated from Dartmouth High School in 1998 and was accepted to St. Mary's and Dalhousie universities. He was considering joining the Navy to fund his education. He was an all-around good, responsible young man. He worked at a gas station and was well-liked by everyone that knew him. Jason had just turned 19 on July the 9th. On the hot, humid night of August 27, 1999, Jason was doing what most teens and young adults do at the end of the summer. He was hanging out with his buddies at a house party on Joseph Young Street in Dartmouth. He left the party alone just after 1 a.m. to make the 1-kilometer walk to his parents' house on Russell. He took a shortcut through the Highfield Park, which was a playground connecting Pinecrest Drive and Joseph Young Street. It was a well-known and popular path, a walk that Jason had done many times before. It is unclear what exactly happened that night in the park. The only thing that we do know is that Jason was shot in the back of the head and killed instantly. Residents of the duplexes that surrounded the playground heard the shot and the sound of footsteps running away. A number of people called the police. At 2:30 a.m., with police dogs in tow, Jason's body was discovered. He was found less than 6 blocks from his house, between 100 and 104 Pinecrest Drive. What in the world was going on? Supposedly at this time, Pinecrest Drive was not really the roughest part of Dartmouth, but it also was not the best, but still something like this was unimaginable. According to Jason's cousin Vanessa, quote, Jason would have felt safe on the path, surrounded by townhouses, basketball courts, and apartment buildings. It was the quickest way for him to go home, and he had taken that route many times before. In the days that followed the murder, Halifax Regional Police released a statement that read, quote, investigators believe Jason was passing through the area while walking home and used the well-known shortcut between the buildings. There is no indication that Jason was involved in any type of criminal activity, leading investigators to believe his death was a random act. Vanessa, Jason's cousin, told CanadaUnsolved.com that the police said the person who shot Jason was looking for someone else and it was most likely a case of mistaken identity, and that is what the McCullough family believes. Carolyn and Alan McCullough, Jason's parents, made an emotional plea for information about their son's murder at a press conference the day after he was killed, on August 29, 1999. They described him as a shy and giving boy. Quote, "We may have overprotected him a little, but we never thought something like this would happen in North End, Dartmouth," Alan said. "We had 19 good years with this kid," said Carolyn. "I only wish we could have more." And though the police have repeatedly said throughout the years that they believed several people witnessed what happened to Jason that night, almost 23 years later, we still do not know who killed him. There were many people who heard the shot and called the police, but supposedly nobody saw anything. In spite of this, investigators remain adamant that multiple witnesses did see Jason's murder. Was it fair keeping them quiet? Maybe. But the McCullough family has stated that at the time Jason was killed, there was this, quote, code of silence among the community, and not many people were willing to talk to the police. On the 20th anniversary of Jason's murder, his family echoed that statement by saying that they believe the investigation was hindered by the relationship between the Halifax police and Dartmouth residents. During the first year after Jason's murder, there was a glimmer of hope for justice when police released 5 detailed composite sketches of men seen in the area and considered persons of interest. Several hours before Jason was murdered that night, 3 of these persons of interest had broken into a house near the murder scene. One of the men pointed a handgun and they all made off with several $100s. They would later be arrested and pled guilty to these charges. The former Daily News made the somewhat controversial decision in 2000 to publish the names of 4 of the alleged suspects, or persons of interest. They are Lloyd Douglas Orman, Stephen Meekins, Christian Marsman, and Tyrone Downey. They all lived in or around the area where the murder occurred as well as where Jason lived. The Daily News identified Downey, Marsman, and Orman as the 3 involved in the home robbery. Downey was the one who pointed the gun. Detective Martin, with more than 500 major cases under his belt, was the lead investigator from the first night of Jason's murder until he retired in 2008. Quote, "Jason was just a kid walking home. Some people saw him as a victim and approached him in that manner," said Martin. He has reported that while working on Jason's case that he has interviewed at least 250 people, and says, quote, "Of all of the cases I was involved in, Jason's would be one of the ones I would say is the most solvable. It's just a matter of someone coming forward with the right information." However, dampening the investigation, just 6 years after the murder, the Cold Case Task Force was disbanded. Now, Martin was in charge of the Cold Case Task Force at this time, and he did inform management that they were making a big mistake, because according to him, to solve cases like Jason's, more resources were needed. Police announced in April of 2005 that they had received new information and began searching for a woman they believed to have been in Highfield Park on the night of Jason's murder. Further details were not released, and it is unclear whether or not the woman was ever identified or located. In a 2006 CBC News article, Constable Jeff Carr stated, quote, "We know there are persons out there with information in relation to what happened. Maybe I would ask those people to put themselves in a position where if Jason McCullough had been one of their family members, what would they want? I think they would want to see this horrific crime solved." He also said the case would not move forward until a witness was found, adding that witnesses would not be charged with failing to report a crime. In an interview with The Coast in 2014, Detective Martin said that that was the year that the police force had came very, very close to laying charges, but I could not find any more details about this. He also said the only other case that had been investigated to the same degree as Jason McCullough's was the disappearance of Kimberly McAndrew, which is a case that I did cover. Kimberly vanished from a Canadian Tire parking lot on Quinpool Road on August 12, 1989. Foul play is suspected in her case, and like Jason, she was just 19 years old. The murder of Jason McCullough is one of 100 cases listed in the Rewards for Major Unsolved Crimes program, which offers tipsters a reward of $150,000 for information in certain crimes. Alan McCullough said, quote, "It's just going to take the right person to step forward. There's people who've witnessed it and are living with it. Do the right thing." Alan also told CTV News in 2019 that he believes the reason there are still no answers is, quote, "I blame it on maybe a lack of communication between the police and the community. If there was more communication, then people would be coming forward with more information. But if they believe the police are the enemy, people aren't going to come forward and be forthcoming. Vanessa, Jason's cousin, says that after Jason died, that area of Dartmouth became run down and people moved out, and the rumors just started flying about what had happened. But eventually the city did start making improvements to the area. They built a family co-op and the area is now mostly populated by children. But she adds that back then it wasn't. The city has also renamed the park that Jason was murdered in his honor. It's now called the Jason McCullough Memorial Park. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Halifax Dartmouth North site organizes an annual walk against violence which honors Jason and other victims of violence. It continues to keep Jason's memory alive. On October 17, 2018, over 200 people attended this walk. Jason's mother, Carolyn McCullough, read a statement. "For one evening, we are not alone," she said. "We have a lot of people who really care and know what we are feeling." Families, community members, advocates, media, and police come out to remember Jason and other victims lost to crime and show solidarity to end violence. They walk from the Boys and Girls Club on Farrell Street to the Jason McCullough Memorial Park. They then share a moment of silence. Jason's photo still hangs on the wall at Dartmouth High School, and each year a graduate is awarded the Jason McCullough Memorial Scholarship. In 2018, after learning about the Parkland shooting, musician Jim Henman of April Wine wrote the song Some of These Children to bring awareness to youth and gun violence. He dedicated the song to Jason and donated 50% of all iTunes and CD sales to the Dartmouth North site of the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Halifax. Jason was just a good kid, minding his own business when he was murdered. He was never involved in criminal activity. Police say they have no motive and few leads. His murder was, and is, considered to be a completely random act of violence. There was no financial, sexual, or personal motive. Jason wasn't robbed. Whoever killed him took nothing of value. It was, in every sense, a senseless crime. Or is it possible that Jason seen something that night that he shouldn't have? Or was he just mistaken for someone else? Somebody, or maybe several somebodies, know what happened, and there's still time to come forward. Jason's family deserves answers, and Jason deserves justice. Any person with any information regarding the person or persons responsible for the murder of Jason Allen McCullough should call the Rewards for Major Unsolved Crimes program at 1-888-710-9090. Or anonymous tips can be sent to Crime Stoppers by calling toll-free 1-800-222-TIPS or 8477, or by submitting a tip online at www.crimestoppers.ns.ca. Or you can also put in an anonymous tip through the P3 Tips app.